Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea, welcome back to another HarstemCast. Today we're going to be having a look at a best of 3 played between, in the bottom right spawning as the blue Terran player, playing for Team Liquid. It is of course going to be Clem. And in the top left spawning as the red Protoss player, playing for Team Psystorm, is going to be MAxpax. MAxpax, the Danish player, who we don't know what he looks like yet, as he's been very careful in showing his face ever. I kind of like that. He seems to be not a single video interview, not a single picture has been released out of this Danish mastermind. Rumor on the street is because his brain is so extremely massive that the brainwaves it sends out destroys any camera nearby. Because this kid is absolutely brilliant. There's not a lot of things we can agree on in the world. But I do believe that almost everyone would agree that MAxpax is a little bit of a wonder child, making a meteoric rise through the scene in the past 2 years. First time I heard of him was during a tournament in Ukraine, and people were talking about the MAxpax at the time. And the MAxpax was a build order where you proxy the second pylon across the map, built your first gateway there, followed by a cybercore at home, crowning out 2 salads. This was a PvT build order. At the time, MAxpax was a 5.8k player. That is a little over 2 years ago. At this point, he is a solid 6.8, 6.9, maybe even sometimes a 7k MMR StarCraft 2 player. And he's one of the main guys that might be able to enter the top 3 in Europe. The Raynor, Serral, Clem, the holy trinity of European players. And MAxpax is really close, bringing some Protoss power back to the top. Showtime has been close as well for a while, but it seems like he can't really manage to bridge that gap. And MAxpax every now and then manages to take out these guys. Recently took out Serral in, I want to say, an Aces ROG qualifier. Now he's going to lose his first Adept to these 2 Marauders. So this opener out of Clem was a Marine into Tech Lab opener. Very uncommon opener, and MAxpax didn't expect it. Was controlling his Adept as there was only going to be 3 Marines, like in a similar vein. Except this time it wasn't Marines, it was a Marauder. Got slowed by the concussive shell and lost his first Adept. Now needs to throw down a battery in order to survive here. 2 units are out, so he went triple units before his warp gate finishes. This does mean that his second gate is going to be delayed, and most likely also the robotics facility will be delayed. Clem tries to deal a small blow here, but won't really succeed in doing anything. Forced the battery, killed an Adept. I think Clem is going to be pretty happy with what this did. Good lord. Trouble speaking this morning. Well, this afternoon already for me. Second gas being taken on the natural here for Clem. He only went 2 racks rather than 3 racks. So a faster second gas is the correct call here. Factory will be going down, and after that we'll see the starport reactor on the factory and then the quick swap. Now I'm curious to see if we're going to be seeing more Marauders added into the mix. That indeed is going to be the case. We see Marauder production really continuing on here for Clem. Of course, he still had the 2 Marauders from earlier on. Now, the reason why that might be slightly surprising is because usually before you swap the starport and the factory to start producing medevacs, you want to save as much gas as possible. So often we just see pure Marine production rather than getting those Marauders in. Now, the Marauders do, of course, serve a big purpose here in that they will be able to help defend against any potential Blink Stalker attack, and if there's ever Colossi going to be popping out, you'd much rather have 8 Marauders and 10 Marines rather than 22 Marines or something like that. So it is important to get that Marauder count early. Very often it's just not possible because of the lack of gas. I mean, MAxpax should be aware that this is a 2 racks. I'm actually surprised he's going for the build he goes for, as we're seeing MAxpax go into a 4-gate blink attack. That actually is extremely surprising to me, because against these triple racks or double racks openers, I'm not a huge fan of the 4-gate blink. Against 3 racks maybe it ain't that bad, but against the 2 racks there's a decent amount of bio units, and the tech is relatively quick as well, which means that usually as a Protoss player, A, you're gonna have trouble doing any real damage, and B, the counterattack hits so extremely fast that most of the time you're not even gonna have your secondary major tech structure like a Robobay or a Templar Archives done and have made proper use of it. Here comes the 4 Stalker Prism going into the main base as well. So we see, well, Clem is not quite in super great position, but he's in a fine position. He's gonna force a pickup here. Once Tim did get forced, I don't really see much happening here from MAxpax. I mean, there's so many units out. Oh, Clem does need to be careful here. Salvages the bunker and gets caught off guard with a large portion of his army. 2 Marauders are going to fall for a single Stalker. That is a good trade because there's only 6 Marauders total. And once all the Marauders disappear, this Stalker army is going to reign supreme against these mediocre Marines. 3rd CC is going down right now. I think Clem spotted that and wanted to go kill that Observer. These units are extremely overstimmed, actually. We'll be able to take out the Observer eventually. Clem does need to be careful. It's a very nice worker count, though. 48 against 53. See this? Are we going to see like a single drop or something like that? A tank in the medevac? Okay. Some quicker transportation into the natural. And we have, once again, a Prism trying to head into the main base. Somehow Clem caught wind of that and already moved his units in position. We now have this move in out of MAxpax. This is a classic MAxpax move, by the way. So often will he poke in with Stalkers for then like a Prism or DTs to walk in. Oh, it's gonna actually lose the Prism. It's a little bit expensive. And more than just being expensive, it also allows Clem the freedom to start marching on the map right now. We see the immediate unsiege of the tank. And I think Clem has some plans here for his opponent. And I think those plans involve marching across the map and trying to take out perhaps a 3rd base. Could scan forward here. Clem's going to be able to get 1 Stalker. 2 Stalkers going down right now. I think this Stalker might also still fall if Clem gets 1 more shot off. Yep, there we go. And Marauder also managed to latch onto that Stalker that was far in the back. I didn't like that blink very much. Doesn't get the Marauders. Will end up losing a Stalker there. Tank will be moved into position. This is a particularly nasty position here. As moving down this ramp can be very scary. There's just not a lot of bio though, as I say that. We do see some pretty decent control out of Clem, just running back, making sure the concussive shell does its job. Scans up, but there's 2 Immortals here, and this is a mainly Marauder army. I don't think Clem quite expected there to be this many Immortals. You see his army consists of so many Marauders. Oh, now we're going to see a major drop into the main base. 3 of these medevacs are going to get sent back home. No vision whatsoever for MAxpax and no units in position. On top of that, all of these buildings are so vulnerable. Robo Bay should have been built on the left side. Same thing here with the fortress. Robo Bay is going to get taken out. And actually a couple of these Stalkers are being targeted down as well. 2 of the Stalkers go down and none of the medevacs or even any of the units will fall. 4th base is being taken here. The line bases are the choice very often for MAxpax, where most Protoss players would take this forward base, MAxpax on 2000 atmospheres, on Lightshade, and sometimes even on Jagannatha will take that line base expansion rather than the forward one. Much prefers defending that. Or perhaps it's more about hiding the fact that he has that base. A single Zealot harass, I think took out maybe a single worker. No, he hasn't killed a single worker yet, actually, MAxpax. That's surprising, because he sent in 2 Prisms already. Well, the same Prism twice, and he lost it. Let's not forget about that. Double Forges are pumping out upgrades as well, and we see a 5th gas being taken here from MAxpax, who is a big fan of the low gas count styles, with heavy Zealot usage into Colossi. Now, the problem here for MAxpax is that he doesn't have Thermal Lance yet, which makes this defense extremely difficult. Awful force field blocking all of his own Zealots here off. That's also it's not even gonna block anything from really coming up. Clem is going to be careful though, doesn't really want to fight in this. Super Battery got popped already. As Clem scans, oh my god, barely missing the Observer. So this Observer is going to be vital for the movement here of MAxpax's army. Without that Observer, he has no real info. This probe poked in, saw a bit of the army, and now we'll see, okay, I'm being attacked over here. This army looks tiny, by the way. Let's see if Clem feels comfortable enough to attack into this. I think the answer is going to be yes, as a big portion of Marines and Marauders are coming in here as well. Some good movement here out of Clem, by the way. This is fantastic to watch. Now finds the 4th base, more by accident than anything else. This is just the natural surrounding abilities that Clem has are so sick. It's so nice to watch. Snipes one Observer, moves back, strikes the Colossi and moves back. And now I think this game is just going to end there, as MAxpax doesn't have the army to defend this 3rd base. GG gets called, and Clem wins game number 1 in this best of 3. Game 2 here is going to be played on the 2000 Atmospheres Ladder Edition, of course between MAxpax and Clem, after Clem took that game number 1 in deciding fashion. Very decisive gameplay as well out of him, by the way. Never really hesitating for a moment. I think this is the one thing that really sets Clem apart from some of the other Terrans, is that when he sees a fight he can win, he takes the fight and he wins it. The confidence in his units is insanely big, and that confidence almost always gets paid out because he's the one controlling them. Terran units just seem a little bit better in Clem's hands than they seem in other Terrans' hands. He's putting up an impressive performance so far. So we have MAxpax going for an early scout. Didn't really scout for any proxy Rexes on this map, which is a little bit surprising. I always struggle mightily with a proxy Rex that can be built just under the ramp, and if you don't send a worker there to harass that barracks, and that Reaper arrives 2 minutes into the game into your main base as you don't have any units yet. Bunker can get constructed in the natural and you could potentially be in a little bit of trouble. This is something to pay attention to if you're ever preparing for MAxpax in the future. Maybe for something for Clem. Look at this. Reactor first is going to be the weapon of choice here for Clem. This is going to allow him to get an increased marine count. So perhaps he's looking forward to doing a little bit of a push here. So we see MAxpax actually going to be popping up here, sees the reactor first and is going to continue his harassment. This is very nice for the Danish Protoss player. This depot is going to get delayed a little bit. I mean, he's going to need to pull another SCV or he needs to fight this. This CC is extremely delayed at this point, and this probe will return home a hero. Sure, he didn't kill anyone, but he delayed everything by so much. First 2 Marines will pop out in about 4 or 5 seconds. I believe 2:23 is the usual timing. Yep, there we go, 2:23. These 2 Marines will pop out and will finally secure the low ground. Now, this might look bad that the CC is delayed, because usually most of you are probably familiar with an adept cancelling the CC again and again and again, or killing the worker again and again and again. But because it is reactor first, there's going to be 4 Marines by the time the adept could ever arrive, possibly. So usually reactor first is actually extremely safe. I also believe Clem didn't go. No, he actually did go for an SCV scout. That's interesting. I didn't quite expect that. I really like the reactor first opener, by the way. I'm personally a big fan. The only problem with the reactor first, if you compare it to other builds, of course, is that you do need some scouting. So very often the double Hellion is the follow-up, or big mine production. Oh, this is the build. This is the build that Clem has been doing a fair amount here. He's looking for the adepts, or if he doesn't find the adept, he's just going to march across the map. A battery is being produced, however, and I think that MAxpax realizes what's going on. A Cure has been playing this build a fair amount as well, but we actually have a full wall. We have an Oracle out. This is the best opener that you could wish for. If you're MAxpax, this is what you dream of, alright? This is actually the greatest scenario ever for him. Unless he loses the Oracle in some magical way, this should just be a very clean win for him. He's gonna go back with the Oracle. He's gonna end up losing the Adept, but an Adept for, what was it, 6 Marines. That's a trade that I think most Protoss players would be willing to make. Now puts one of these probes on hold position here. We'll be able to build a pylon if he needs to. I'm surprised we're not seeing an armory with this, which is one of the more common responses, but I think that in this case, Clem actually just wants to stay at home with this medevac as well. We did build 1 mine, right? Yeah. No, 2 mines. One in the main, one in the natural. And MAxpax is very careful, making sure that he doesn't accidentally die. More Phoenixes are on the way here, as Viking Cyclone is starting right now for Clem. His marine count obviously very low, as he swapped the factory on top of the reactor here. And he also lost 6 marines, so I think a 3rd CC is the correct answer. It's going to be impossible for Clem to ever move across the map with a 3 Rex, or to ever move across the map with a 1-1-1 type of push, because he just doesn't have the marine count. I'm surprised we're seeing a Liberator being built here. Shocked, almost. That might actually be a dead Oracle. No, it's going to be close. This Viking is going to get taken out. This Cyclone is going to... This is a terrible start for Clem. Terrible start for Clem, and... yeah, if you're a Protoss player and this happens to you in the early game, is an absolute dream scenario. There's still, what, 3 Phoenixes available. There's an Oracle still alive as well. You're just in a lead. The infrastructure that MAxpax is building is so much faster than his opponents. His opponent hasn't even started Stim yet. Hasn't even finished his barracks yet. And we almost see charge done already. This push out of Clem could just be a game ender in that it ends the game for Clem. I'd be surprised if this does anything, really. Should be using the Phoenixes. Okay, that Liberator gets taken out in the natural. We do have a Revelation on this mine. Will get picked up. Is going to continue flying. Needs to be careful. Loses the Oracle here. Oh my god. This went way worse for MAxpax than it should have. Also hasn't been continuously be building workers. And now all of a sudden Clem is ahead in... No, what are you doing, MAxpax? Okay, charge will finish up, but... 5 works have gone down. Wait, is this the second Liberator? Has 1 Lib died already? Oh, it must have been a Viking that landed or something. What went into the natural? What died in the natural that killed 2 workers? I don't know. Maybe it was the Hellions. That is a possibility, of course. The Lib manages to even fly out as well. This turned really bad really quickly. Like, kind of just a bad fight here. Just a really bad fight, honestly. Forge is going down. We don't have a robotics facility yet, so perhaps Templar Archives is going to be the answer here. I'm not quite sure. Okay, I think that MAxpax can just walk in here right at this point and just win the game. These Marines don't have Stim. They don't have anything. A little bit slow there on the Phoenix pool. This fight went so... big mine hit. This fight went way worse than I ever thought it would have for MAxpax. I'm so surprised how Clem keeps almost accidentally winning these fights, and the control out of MAxpax this game hasn't been brilliant. Is he still in a playable position? Right now the infrastructure for Clem is kicking in. He's on 5 barracks already. Sure, no add-ons yet on these 2, but he has 4 big production facilities, 3 barracks, 1 factory. Worker count is pretty close. 1-1 is about to finish up. I mean, Clem just builds an armory here. It's gonna create one hell of a 1-1 or maybe even a 2-2 timing for himself. Imagine that, 2-2 timing with like 2-3 goes. I see some real potential there. The only thing he's lacking at this point is a little bit of gas, because he isn't mining gas yet from his 3rd base, and he wants to start 2-2 pretty quickly. I don't think that's going to be possible. Stim and Combat Shield finishing 8 minutes into the game. This is going to be the first bit of pressure where I think, well, this might actually have some potential, and actually this might even have the potential to kind of win the game here. There's a big run by out on the map right now, and there's not a whole lot of MAxpax here at home. These Phoenixes, oh my god, 2 of them get taken down immediately. The other 2 are half HP, draining the battery's energy right now. This is a pure Marine army, and as I said before, pure Marines are absolutely fantastic if there's not a single means of having splash yet. What's Clem doing here? Clem also moving back a little bit too far. All of these Zealots are going to get splashed by the Widow Mine as well. These 2 Phoenixes are staying alive, and I think MAxpax will be able to clean it up together with this next Warpin. All Phoenixes went down though. What happened with the run by? I think the run by walked into a couple of landmines and never to be heard from again. Radio silence, +2 starting right now for Clem. Clem's just absolutely out-microing his opponent this game. This was the worst build order with the worst early game for Clem imaginable. And I don't think that is over-exaggerating how bad position Clem really had here. He had a terrible position. He was dead. Well, yeah, actually he was dead. But he still manages to get things done with the limited means that he has. And now all of a sudden, he's kind of back into a lead, I would say. Needs to be careful that he doesn't overcommit with his units. If we truly take a look at the situation, oh my god. 8 kills, a couple more kills here. 13 kills total. 8 in the natural, 5 more in the main base. Now, does Clem really need to do this, or can he just wait for his 2-2 upgrades? Technically, he could wait for his 2-2 upgrades, but that's not really in Clem's nature. Clem is not a waiting player. He always wants to be putting on the pressure, and he's doing that right now. Once again, he knows that there's no real way to catch these medevacs. There's what? 3... How many Phoenix have gone down? 8 Phoenixes have gone down, so that's 11 Phoenixes built in total this game. We have a random army moving here towards the left side as well, and Clem could just say, I'm going to wait for 2-2, I'm going to build 3 ghosts, and I'm going to straight up win the game while I'm taking my 4th base. But instead, Clem, what he prefers doing is moving in with small amounts of units in 3 bases at the same time. And that's exactly what he's doing here. He's microing the left side army as the right side army is trying to rotate into position. This army is going to get pushed back as Clem takes this watchtower, now stims forward immediately and wants to keep this army here on the left side. That's why he keeps going back in and out right now, mainly microing this army on the right side here. More Archons are being produced. Robo Bay is in the works as well. This could potentially be a drop into the main base, and I don't really see a way for MAxpax to hold it. Perhaps Clem is afraid that there is some vision here, but I think a drop into the main base would be a game ender. Yep, there we go. Brilliant call. Not only because I also said it, but just because, you know, it is a very good call. These 3 medevacs with the units are going to be pushing into the 3rd here. Can definitely out-micro this army as well. It isn't being microed, however, as Clem's main attention, his main focus right now is on this area. More reinforcements are moving in. 2-2 finishes up as these units unload into the main base. And I think that this is going to not only be the end of this game, but also the end of this series as the battery gets taken out. These mines shoot the final zealots, and MAxpax has a very small army left. Inferior upgrades. So he's down 3 upgrades at the moment. Worst stack at this point as well, and down a base. So he's down in absolutely everything and up in nothing. And even when he was up in the early game, Clem still managed to come back. So arguably Clem is the better player and he's ahead in every single way. A comeback is going to be extremely difficult. GG gets called as Clem takes this series 2-0.